But here's the thing. Okay, so like at work, the kids would only sing Isabella, your boyfriend's here, and start over from there. It's like, you guys, that is a very fun part of the song. You guys are doing really good at capturing all of Camilo's energy, but like,
I heard little like 20-month-old singing it, and it was very cute. Like the whole song, he was like, no, no, no. Like, oh, so cute.
Grab some popcorn and stick around. We've got some garbage to talk about.
Hi, Rogue.
Hey, Zax.
Hi, Karina.
Hey, Zax. Hey, Rogue.
Hi, Karina.
Well, we are talking about Encanto, and it's only like
months after it's come out.
We didn't miss the train, right?
I mean, it just won an Oscar, didn't it?
Yeah, but that was already. I mean, news moves fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're filming this like way before. I don't know. I was going to make a joke. It's months after. Nobody's really talking about Encanto anymore.
Turning red is the new big thing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So expect like 10 months we'll jump on that train as well.
We'll jump on that TTC. Haha, funny.
But okay, yeah. So I really liked Encanto, and I feel like we don't talk about as many movies as we like on here. So that's fun. The other thing I'll say is, as a child of, I guess, or as a first generation, my mom came here from a different country, and now I'm in America, and I felt very seen in this movie from that perspective. Oh, I thought we would all say little things about Encanto.
Oh, I mean,
our experience with
I'm second generation. So there's bits of it where
generation.
I'm like, oh my god,
oh my god,
look at us. But like, there's definitely bits of. Also, full disclosure, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I'm a white person. This movie was not made for me. But
Yeah,
as
same.
like somebody with like immigrant families, there's a lot of like the story that resonates with me. But again, this is not my story.
Also, I mean, I think it speaks to a lot of. I mean, okay, we'll get into it obviously, but there were so many nuances in the movie, and the characters were so fleshed out that you could relate to a lot of different parts of the movie without it being your story, like the overall theme of the movie being your story. I feel like there was a lot to relate to.
I think that's a really good point. Like, you both brought up something that I have been thinking about. Sort of with the discourse going around between Encanto and with Turning Red. I was watching a Cat Black video like a few weeks ago where she pointed out, like, there's this guy who made this review about how Turning Red was clearly just for like the director and their friends to enjoy. And I was like, that's so weird.
Number one, so what? Number
Yeah.
two,
But also-
not correct.
But like, and it was weird because on one hand, it's like this disconnect. Well, like, so it was a white guy who didn't feel seen in a young Asian girl's story. So like, on those grounds alone, I think that's weird. But the other one thing that Kat Black brought up, and I was like, I never really thought about it before. But she was talking about how, like, people of color, we're just not. Well, whatever. We're basically used to just watching stuff made for white people all the time. And we just watch it. It's fine. Like, Seinfeld's funny. Doesn't have anything to do with my life. But, like, and that's fine. But it is interesting, though, that Encanto and Turning Red come out and suddenly people aren't feeling seen enough. And it's just like... But, and this, I mean, like, this is a weird argument for, like, I guess representation matters, except for all the time that it didn't matter to anybody. But don't know. It was just really weird thinking about it because I never thought about one, how like there were lots of things where I was like, oh, well, I guess I'd probably relate to that more if I was white, but it didn't like ruin the whole viewing experience
Right.
for me. But like, especially because, and I haven't seen Turning Red yet. Still, I keep meaning
it's
to.
I
fantastic.
haven't seen
watched
it
with my
either.
mom.
We need to watch it together.
My mom
Yeah.
and I watched it and we had a blast.
I mean, oh yeah, well, I think was that fun because it was like in Canada too,
Yeah,
right?
it's like in my city, so we were like, we've been there.
Oh,
Oh, that's fun. One thing that kind of stinks about having grown up in California is that like I was in the valley where they do film a lot of stuff, and sometimes it'd be like, oh yeah, I've been there or I've driven past that, but a lot of times there was places like it's not like I was going to go to these places a lot. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't a restaurant I ate. It was just like, oh yeah, I know that location.
You're like, I know this place. It's like, I think I mentioned this in like one of our Lindsay Lohan videos, where it's filmed in Toronto, but they're like, it's New York City, and I'm like, nope, that's King Street in Toronto. That is
Oh
my
my
walk to
God.
work.
I think that was Get a Clue, right? That's
Yeah.
New York one. Yeah, she's like a fashion icon. Okay, well, okay, let's just start talking about Encanto. If you somehow don't know, it's a movie about generational trauma.
let's touch on that real
Yeah.
quick because I feel like a lot
Okay,
of
yeah.
people miss the point of this movie.
They thought it was just about a magic house.
Okay, so here's the interpretations I've heard. A missing uncle is what the movie was about. I've heard the whole point of the movie is that everyone is special, even if you don't have superpowers. Which I was like, so I heard this from a grown adult person, and I'm like, that is like so surface level.
I feel like small
Yeah.
children got the point of the
Exactly.
movie.
Yes.
Yeah, like those, I guess, like technically, you're not wrong. Those are things that happened in the movie. But, like, could it potentially be, because, like, you talk about it's an adult, is it possible that, like, people who don't get it are abusive?
I don't think so.
I'm not gonna say
not, like,
yes,
flat out.
but I'm very much not gonna say no.
I mean, it's possible, but it's also possible that
like-
one, critical thinking has never been
Yeah.
someone's strong suit, and two, they
they
have,
grew up in a very stable, loving
yeah,
family.
very nuclear American family.
Okay, yeah, abuser is a strong word.
That could also be
but-
them, and they're like, I don't see a problem here.
Yeah.
I'm not abusive.
But yeah, okay. What are the other? Is that like
Those were
what else have you heard?
Yeah, I think
regarding-
those were like the main two, especially when people talking about how like it was a generic movie
How?
with like a generic message. I'm like, I think you missed the point of the entire
did we all watch the same movie?
I feel like tropes get a really bad rap. Like
Yeah.
people, I've watched too many, myself included, watched too many like movie analysis videos, and now we think I've seen that before. Hack.
Cinema
Yeah.
Sins absolutely did a number on
Ugh.
like critiquing a movie because it's like, oh, this happened. That's a bad. I'm like, shut
Remember
up.
when this happened in another movie? It's bad.
This is so bad and stupid.
Yeah,
This movie's an
like-
idiot.
Yeah, not to like dogpile or anything, but this is kind of why we need to like, as a society, move away from the cinema sins mentality. Like, because I don't think there's anything even necessarily wrong with like nitpicking or, but like I feel like
Look
as
at our
long as you
channel.
have a reason,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, no, for sure, we're very well, mostly me, but very angry at everything. But
Kind of Friends at its core is a media critique channel.
but I think we have a reason. Like even with like something like Status Update, I didn't dislike it because it was like, you're probably wondering how I got here movie, although it was, and I was tired as all get out. But there were also a lot of other things they did that didn't make sense. So I guess minor educational moment. just because it's happened before doesn't mean that a creative, brilliant mind can't make it new again.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Encanto did with a magic fail. Which, like, by the way, like, I feel like they kind of took a magical family to its, like, logical extreme, right?
Yeah. I mean, even the
Like-
house was magical. That's like not something you see in media all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It was also interesting that magic was also part of the problem.
Exactly,
too.
yeah.
Like, it's like, I feel like a lot of times it would be like, oh, my sisters are magic, but I'm normal.
Womp womp.
And then I'll be magic. But, okay, so there's that. And let's also, we started to, generational trauma, I think, can manifest in all kinds of forms. The one thing I'll say is, like, from my personal experience, I think it fell in line with a lot of what happened in Encanto, which is why, like, it, like, was a little much at times. But I feel like it's, like, fear, but it's also a lot of, like, expectations for the next generation. It's like, because I did all this just to get you here,
Yeah.
but you just being here can't be enough because it needs to matter that I did everything to get here too.
Yeah.
And I think that's, like, the best way I can explain generational trauma. But, like, I don't, if you guys want to say something smart with your degrees and whatnot, you can too.
I mean, I don't know what more smart thing I can say.
Okay.
Look how good I am at talking.
We're really smart.
That isn't just your experience,
Yeah. I guess I was just saying for in general, just so that this movie talk isn't just me deep diving into my
Your own
childhood.
trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah, my generational topic was not made into a Disney movie. But okay, so we talked about this. We're gonna go through, like, all the characters, but obviously spoiler warning, because we're gonna have to talk about Mirabel and Abuela for basically everybody. It's kind of hard to leave them out. So I guess go watch Encanto if somehow you haven't. Otherwise,
It's
you're
been-
gonna
It's on
get-
Disney Plus.
It's been several
Yeah.
months. I hope everybody has seen it at this point.
At least this isn't the first video that's spoiled, you,
Yeah.
right? Like, we know who we are. Like, it shouldn't be the first.
We know that we've arrived at the party with cold pizza and everybody's already eaten.
Okay, so let's start with the three siblings. There's the mom.
Wait, Julieta.
Yes, I was
like-
trying to think of her name.
I was like, three siblings? There's 3 sets of 3 siblings.
I remembered Lieta, but I was like, I know there's another syllable.
There's
in there.
another word.
Bruno and Peppa. I think they're basically they're essentially like the 3 outcomes you'd get from, like, a mom like Abuela, I think, and her expectations. So
They all have an
Peppa's-
anxiety disorder.
Well,
Not
I think it's
Julieta.
interesting because, well, she's a fixer.
Yeah, that's true.
She's a people pleaser, and that's very anxiety disorder.
She's the I know there's a term for this, but it's because it's not like Isabella, where Isabella's the perfect one, but she's something different. She's like, like, I'm just gonna cook and take care of you guys, and you're all gonna feel loved, and everything's okay, nothing's wrong.
People pleaser.
Which, yeah, I guess because it's like, yeah,
I don't think it's exactly a people pleaser. I think it's more like everything's going to be okay because I say it's going to be okay. We'll just say it's okay and it's okay.
I'll manifest it.
yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Because, like, and that kind of goes into, like, even her relationship with Mirabel, because in a way, she's kind of decided that she already knows what's bothering Mirabelle. Like in the beginning, Mirabelle wants to help, and then she's like, I know this is going to be emotional for you because, like, you didn't get a gift, which is also true, but she also just wants to be used. And instead of utilizing her there, instead of, like, giving her a task, like one task.
You're just like, Mirabelle, literally leave. We don't want you here.
And even when they're being nice to her, they're like, look, don't worry, you don't have to do anything. Which is, like,
so maybe, like, don't.
infantilizing, to say the least. So then you have, well, I guess Peppa. Her thing, I guess, is, that she's been written off as the emotional one. And I think that's interesting. One, I think it's so fun that her power goes with that a lot, too. I think that's very cute. But it's also interesting that Bruno and Felix are the only people who, like, want Peppa to just be herself.
Yeah.
I think people have the tendency to just, like, write off people who are, like, emotional.
Overly emotional, yeah.
Or dramatic and stuff, but at the same time, though, like, I don't know, like, I don't feel like I really got to know Peppa too much during the movie. That's not really even a criticism, it's just, like,
I definitely feel like what we saw of her, like, maybe her emotions were heightened a little bit more, but they were never inappropriate emotions for the situation.
No.
But she was always made to feel like the emotions were inappropriate for the
Right.
situation.
Yeah, because she's making a scene, and that's something, like, you know, you can't make a scene, because how are you going to look? Especially because...
How are you going to make me look?
Yeah. And that's the thing, too, though. I think, well as sort of tries to project that she doesn't care what people think as long as they think she's helpful to the community.
Yeah.
So, like, I think with her appearances being everything that matters, Peppa just, like, can't. But although she gets the least, but at the same time, though, I think she gets, like, sort of picked on the least of everybody.
She gets told off, like, all the time by Abuela.
Because she tells her to calm down, but at the same time, though, like, their family doesn't really have the brunt of the drama going on. Like, it's so, like, and Dolores, well, we'll get to the cousins later, but she's the emotional one. Then Bruno.
We don't talk about Bruno.
We said it, everyone.
That song is such a bop. But here's the thing. Okay, so, like, at work, the kids would only sing Isabella, your boyfriend's here, and start over from there. It's like, you guys, that is a very fun part of the song. You guys are doing really good at capturing all of Camilo's energy, but, like,
I heard little, like, 20-month-old singing it, and it was very cute. Like, the whole song, he was like, no, no, no. I'm like, oh, so cute.
Oh my god, it's so, I don't know, Encanto brought, like, the music out of everybody.
Thank God I never have to hear Let It Go ever again.
Oh, I still do.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think, well, I hear Into the Unknown more than I hear Let It Go. I think
I used to. I always give the option because they're like the Frozen song, and I'm like, do you want Let It Go or Into the Unknown? And they're like, Let It Go. I'm like, dang it, I shouldn't have asked.
I'm not even giving my kids the option. It's Encanto and nothing else.
I think I appreciate Into the Unknown more because, like, it was cute hearing, like, kids go, let it go, and, like, but they never really commit. But Into the Unknown, I'll have, like, an 18-month-old just
screaming.
Go for it. And it's like, we were having breakfast, but okay.
All right. Thank you for hitting that high note at 8 o'clock in the morning.
But for, like I think it was surface pressure, and then one of the little boys, his shoulders just start moving
Oh.
just like Mirabelle's, basically. But I don't think he was copying her. I think that's just what the
That's what
music
the music
tells him
does
to
to you.
do.
Yeah. Also, let's go on a quick side tangent for a second. I don't think there's a single song in this movie that doesn't slap. Every single song just like scratches her brain in the right way.
Lin-Manuel Miranda is a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
Amen.
I really can't think of that man without thinking of that one picture of him that like Stan Twitter got a hold of and just used it for everything. It's where he's like kind of biting his lip and it's like, ugh, don't do that.
Stop.
Look, here it is right now. If I can find it. Send it to Zach's before we get this edited. Look at it!
But okay, so Bruno, he can see the future, and he was run out of town.
And everyone blames him for it. He can see the future, and everyone blames him for the future.
For the outcome, yeah.
Yes.
And in a way, I like, not that I understand why everybody hates him, but it is interesting just as far as like family dynamics go, because you know he's kind of quirky and like he doesn't really like, he just says what he thinks. Basically, he's pretty like candid about most things. And I think, I don't know if I would say this is like a society thing or not, but I do feel like people say they want people to be candid on paper, but they don't really want people to be candid.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's kind of more what he's being punished for, because like lack of bedside manner in a way. Like he doesn't break the news to people in a way that they want, but at the same time that doesn't mean your fish isn't gonna be dead.
Yeah.
She had such a boat. I can't. She's still mad about it. Like,
How long has she had that fish?
Yeah, girl, that thing's stinky. You need to get rid
well,
of it.
okay. Well, yeah. How? Because okay, the last time anyone saw Bruno, Mirabelle was like 8. So
No, she's like
just
5.
half-
She's like a little baby.
I couldn't tell how old her or Antonio were supposed to be.
I think they're supposed to be 15.
Antonio definitely looks like 4.
4 or 5, and then I think Mirabelle and Camilo are 15, 16.
How do you guys feel about Bruno?
Rat man. Love him.
I love him, yes.
I think I think it's so sad that he retreated into the walls like bad Ronald.
Oh, but he never left the
And-
house.
Yeah. And then makes like a
When
little
I-
placemat for himself, and like it looks into the kitchen. And he's like,
That
I'm
made
sitting
me
at the table.
cry. The fact that he's just been like, everyone else thinks he dipped on the family.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he hears them sing about him frequently.
And grooves along
And
to the
then-
music.
Oh my gosh, I saw this one TikTok where someone made like Bruno's verse in there, and it slapped really good too. But he's also trying to fix the walls of the house. Because inside the house, even though everything looks fine, inside it's broken. And I feel like that's probably like a metaphor.
Oh,
for
absolutely.
something. Okay.
Which,
It's definitely like, we're putting on this front that everything's okay, but then, you know, once all the doors are shut, we're a disaster family.
And I think it's interesting too the way that they portray, because it's kind of like each member of the family feels like there's something wrong with the whole family,
yeah.
but they feel like they're the only one who feels that.
They feel like they're the problem.
Because they don't feel comfortable to talk about it.
Because
Yeah.
why? Abuela has made it a
Abuela.
toxic environment where people can't share their feelings.
Like, I think, like, enough, this is just speculation, obviously, like, these people don't really exist. But, like, what do you think it was like for the 3 siblings growing up?
Walking on eggshells.
Yeah.
like, I feel like, I guess I'm wondering, like, how early do you think they, like, fell into these roles? Because, like, Bruno, and I guess once he left, Mirabelle kind of take on this whole, like, lightning
Scapegoat.
rod
Yeah.
status. Yeah. Then, but, like, it's, like, weird, too, because, like, we don't really see anything between the siblings at all, but Peppa's been mad at Bruno for ruining her wedding for, like, I guess her whole marriage. But then, but at the same time, like, I guess, like, we don't really get to find out, like, what Julieta feels about anything because, we don't really talk to her that much. But, like, we have, like, when Bruno comes back, she's just like, oh, great, you're here, you could just be part of the family again.
Yeah.
She doesn't really, like, have any issues about it. And Peppa, I guess, doesn't really either. Because at this point, I guess, what do you think it would have been like if Bruno had showed back up before the house crumbled to dust? Like, would everybody have been that
finally
copacetic?
decided to show up? And it would have just been ding ding round one.
Yeah.
And Abule would have just sat back and been like, it's what he deserves. Get his ass.
And they might come up more later, but I just want to really quick. I love the husband energy.
Yes.
of
The
this movie.
himbos in this movie. Mwah.
I think I love the idea of Felix being that's Peppa's husband. What is Augusto?
Yeah.
Augustine?
Augustine. Yeah. I
got there.
love. Yeah, I was like,
How many kind of friends does it take to remember a character's name?
takes all of it. Takes a village.
we put all our brains together. We figure it out.
At full capacity will remember a name,
One name.
at a time.
Or at least the actor's name.
Yeah. I could call him Wilmer Valderrama for the... It's so funny. When I first saw the movie, I didn't realize it was him, but then once I saw the credits and it was him, every time I've watched it since, it sounds just like Wilmer Valderrama to me. But at first it didn't, and I'm like, I don't know what that means.
Let me actually pull a cast up real quick. Let me see who's who.
But yeah, okay, so I think it's so cute that he's accident prone and he fell in love with the girl with the healing cookies.
That's amazing.
Like, I think that's, especially because I really would love a short that's just their love story, because, like, that line we see her treating of people, he was probably just pulling, like, doubles or triples in the line to get healed all the time.
Trips on the way in.
Trips on the way, gets healed, tries to woo her a little bit. She's like, you're gonna be sick. And he's like, yeah, but I like things. And then Felix, I like that Felix is so, like, expressive and emotional, because, like, that's, like, what Peppa needs, but it's, like, a different vibe, where, like, I think people might write Peppa off as, like, panicky, and, like, Felix is more, like, feisty.
Yes.
And I think those go together well. Especially, I just love their lovers together in Bruno.
It's very good.
Because he's... I like that he gets mad at her, too. But... Or she gets mad at him. But... Okay. So then we have the cousins, Camilo and Dolores. And I feel like they just kind of...
And Antonio.
Antonio, yeah.
Can't forget about him.
Yeah.
Angel of the movie. Sweet baby boy.
He was very sweet, but he hasn't been impacted by any generational trauma.
Yeah.
So, like,
He's just here to hang
happy
out
to
with
get his
animal.
gift.
Yeah.
he's just cute. I think that's interesting too. Well, people speculate that, like, now that, like, Mirabelle's gonna potentially be the new Abuela, is that she picked Antonia's gift because it doesn't really have a way to serve the community. It's just something he likes.
I disagree. I feel like you could find a way to serve the community with that. Because if you just looked at, like, Camilo's gift at the surface level, it's like, oh, shapeshifting. How does that serve the community? You know? So I feel like you have to use some imagination, but...
I saw this.
Yeah,
I saw this theory that was like everybody up until Antonio, like their gift, like they had to find a way to use it for the community. But now that like things are kind of changing in the family, Antonio's gift is like just something for him that makes him happy instead of having to worry about making other people happy.
Yeah, that's what I heard, and I feel like there's still like he could be a vet, I guess,
Yeah,
or whatever.
he
but,
he
like,
can tell
like-
the donkeys to stop getting out, so
Yeah.
Lucia can get a
Yeah.
break.
And I think those are all things, but I think it's more like, because even with Camilo's thing is like you could always have like two hands around, and like I think I never really thought about how useful shapeshifting can be before this movie.
I mean, it
then
it shows like the applications of it.
Yeah, which I think that was interesting because I think most things have taught me that shapeshifting is one of those powers that's like just for crime. Like, I can't. I'm just thinking about every shapeshifter I've seen on TV, and I think they're usually criminals. So like,
Well, this isn't super relevant to what we're talking about, but I think my favorite Camilo scene is like when their powers are starting to like go a little haywire. They're like, he's looking around the house for Mirabelle, and his power
little
like
baby
kind of
head.
goofs, and he just has a tiny baby head, and his crackling voice is so funny.
he was it was so cute.
Comedy gold.
I think I also like Camila because he was just like real. Like I think he reminds me of so many like interactions I've had with my cousins before.
Yes.
Where it's like everything's going crazy, but you could count on that one person to just be like
To turn it
this
up.
is like you can like kind of wink to them and it's like, yeah, I see you kind of thing. And that was the energy I got from him.
Camilo's the
Come on.
cousin to sit like at the, because you know they all have to sit at the kids table where he's like, let's talk about politics. What do we think about the death penalty? And everyone at the table's like, Camilo, stop. Just here to cause problems.
One thing about Dolores is that, like, okay, so she and Isabella, I think, are like roughly the same age. At least they're both can marry himbo.
Yeah.
Mariano. There we go. But
Doesn't matter.
anyway, somebody. I think someone, you can do a super cut of this. Just us trying to remember anybody's
Kind
name.
of Friends Encanto review, but it's just them struggling to remember character names.
Oh my gosh. But like with Dolores, so do you think like growing up they were like compared a lot? Because Dolores like didn't even try to get with Mariano like at all. She was just sad about it.
I mean, but they were,
At least
because they were already
From where we
in a relationship, though, right?
And she
Like, at the
wasn't
start
gonna
of the
swoop in
movie?
I
there and
don't-
steal her cousin's man.
And I also
I
feel
don't
like it was
think-
kind of implied that it was pretty much arranged.
Well, yeah, it was arranged, and like, but the thing is, like, I guess what I took away from it was that, like, at the time of the movie starting, Mariano had kind of been looking at Isabella, and Abuela was like, "Yep, sounds good."
All right, himbo, marry my golden child.
But then, like, but I kept going back to look for signs that she was interested. And I couldn't really when she's like,
That's because she's gay.
Lis- no, Dolores.
Oh, okay.
In the beginning, when
Sorry,
when
Isabella's gay.
Yeah, no, she definitely. It's hard to watch it and not think she's like
She's a
at
little
least
fruity.
a little gay.
A little bit. At
Just a
least.
tad bit. But like, so she's been listening. She knows he wants like 5 babies and stuff. Like, I'm thinking maybe that was a hint because I don't think he was just randomly telling his mom that he wants 5 babies right then, or was he?
Maybe.
Maybe.
He just
But
wants
then-
to share all of his love.
He just has so much love.
Yeah.
so much love inside. He's so sad. But I guess I'm just wondering, like, I from in favor of stirring up fake drama between a fictional family. I wonder if like Peppa at any point felt like Julieta has it all together and she's the perfect one. You know, Abuela loves her sisters and we're just also here, like that kind of stuff. And then, like, cause I don't know, it felt like I understand that, like, in a sense, they are two different families because you know, like, it's a husband and wife and their children.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just kind of weird. It just felt like there were two sides. Because one thing I also noticed people bringing up is they talk about, like, how Peppa's family's the one that had the most crap to talk about Bruno, but, like, not the other side of the family.
Yeah.
Which, and then Isabella's part
Oh my gosh.
is mostly positive, I
The
guess.
only
in a
positive
way.
one.
I love Mirabelle's face. As soon as you look, before you even see that Isabel came down, you see Mirabelle just
Not her
so
again.
fed up with her. Okay. So yeah, I feel like there could I just feel like there could be potential rivalry there just because everybody's vying for the love of Abuela. And I think I think not only is Abuela being mean to everybody, but also her being mean to everybody is causing, like, friction between people there. Because, like, and not even to be mean, but that partially feels like part of Dolores's incentive to spill the beans about Mirabelle's, being in Bruno's vision.
Yeah.
Okay. So, then, let's talk about the sisters. Do we
Gay.
want to start with Isabella or Louisa?
What do we think? Let's talk about Isabella first.
Okay. So, as we've stated, gay.
Right off the bat.
Let's go, lesbians.
I think that was really interesting that, like, first of all, just how catty she was to Mirabelle from the jump was interesting. Like, I listened to, Bruno so many times. But one thing that I noticed, and I was looking at this video where someone put all the lyrics, you know, the parts where they're all singing together, their parts. You can hear in that part, there's a part where Dolores is focusing on the fact that the guy she likes is marrying somebody else, and Isabella is mostly just talking about, like, the perfection that's expected of her, but then it ends with both of them saying that they'll be fine despite it. And I was like, oh wow, I didn't notice that before, but that's so sad because they're singing they'll be fine in that way where you're not really fine.
The room
You're
is
just
on
trying to
fire and
fake-
you're like, this is fine. This is
Yeah,
fine. I
it's
can
like
get through
that,
this.
and I was like, wow, they put that in a song. That's so great. I think some people have said, like, online, like, okay, no redemption arc for Isabella because she's so mean to Mirabelle.
I
Thoughts
disagree.
to that.
But then she...
That's so harsh.
Then she
'Cause
was not mean.
Yeah, and I also
She literally
think,
had a redemption arc.
yeah, exactly. I also think it's like sibling rivalry, plus all of the other familial politics that are going on in the family. And since she is the golden child, she has that standard of like, well, everyone else is mean to Mirabelle, so I'm going to be mean to her too.
I think there were some times where it did feel more pointed just because, like, nobody else takes a stance from that, but at the same time, I do feel like they explained why they're both wrong
Yeah.
for being how they are. Because, like, the first thing, like, Isabella tells Mirabelle, like, okay, like, if you didn't try so hard, you wouldn't be such a failure face, or whatever she says. And then
You would be such a
Mirabelle,
loser that nobody in this family likes.
and then Mirabelle is like, "Oh yeah, well, you're just making flowers, so." Ugh. And then I think she even like falls or something. That sounds like what she'd do. But then, we get to know her thing. She doesn't. I think her song. I think it's so hard. I'm so torn between Surface Pressure and What Else Can I Do, because they're both like they just really hit.
I do really like What Else Can I Do. I think the only thing that puts, or like the main thing that puts Surface Pressure over the edge for me is that it doesn't sound like a Disney song.
That's, yeah, I would say that. I also like, I think and like it makes sense for like what they were going through, but I really just liked how much animation was in Surface Pressure.
So good.
And like, yeah, and also just like the song in general, it was nice. But as far as like the plights going on, I think it's interesting that like all Isabella wants like is just to be.
Yeah.
Like what she makes a cactus and she's like, "Oh wow, that happened because I wasn't like worrying about what my whole family thinks I'm supposed to be." And then I think one of the lyrics is like, "What if they just let me be?"
Yeah.
And it's just like, "Aw, you tragic perfect girl." But like, because I think it's interesting because like it's so funny how like if this had been Isabella's movie, people would be like "Oh, Mirabelle, you don't even do anything. You're just so jealous." Bleh. But but it's interesting that like there were so many people who weren't the star, but you get to like really see where they're coming from.
I really enjoyed that. It made it feel like
Yeah.
there was a bunch of little tiny movies within the movie.
Like
Yeah.
nobody was just like one-sided, like this is who I am. Everyone had layers and they were complex and like so
And you
much care and attention.
Yeah, you understood their motivations entirely. Oh, so good.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Mwah, 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 mwah. So good.
I think I also just like that a lot of this isn't really like about like the plot or anything, but I like how a lot of the songs all include like different like Spanish and things like that, and it's just like part of it. Like obviously there's like Dos Oruguitos, but like even in that one, like I don't know, like I don't think anybody really thinks about like jacarandas and all those other plants they mentioned.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah. So that's Isabella's deal. She's too perfect, and she doesn't want to be. She just wants to be
herself.
gay or ace, or at least not with Mariano.
Okay, kind of literally not at all important about Isabella. This is maybe a controversial opinion. Am I the only one who like kind of preferred her first look compared to her second look? Like I know the whole thing is like, oh, she like gets to be who she is and like doesn't have to be perfect, but like the first look is so beautiful.
I mean, was that a second look? I thought it was the same day. I just thought like she hadn't changed after she died, or.
But then she has the third look, which is like, okay. Do you remember in Barbie Rapunzel where she's like painting on the walls and she's going through like the different versions of like, what about this dress? Do you remember the one where like she comes out of the wall and it's like all geometric and like colors that don't go together? It was giving that, and I didn't super like it. I was like, oh, I love what this means. Visually, I'm not impressed.
I think, like, if we got to see them the day after, like, once she'd, like, taken a bath, changed her outfit, I think the colored hair was fun.
Yeah.
But then she does, at, like, the very end, she's like, poof, and then, like, she has a third look, and it's still a mess.
Oh yeah, no. She's going through
She's finding her style.
She's going through like her wild cottage girl, horse girl phase, like all
Horse
at
girl
once.
phase.
Like
All at once.
she, because she started off like I have to be pink and perfect and nothing else, and now she's like there are other colors in the rainbow,
Wow.
all of them on me.
Color
all
theory.
the time.
Let me just yeet that out the window.
Yeah, like let's revisit the Madrigals in a few months. She'll have settled into like a nice pastel.
She'll have a look. She'll have a look.
Yeah.
And we'll be like, ooh, cute.
Yeah. But right now she's just
Chaos.
she's just a little chaos. So Louisa, I think the first
Yeah,
time I
for real.
heard surface pressure, I just like thought about like my whole life and felt so sad.
I'm glad we all relate to her.
It's hard not to, because I think like especially if you're like an older
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
sibling to
say.
somebody, like it's kind of hard not to want, and like, especially if you're an older sibling and like your family isn't getting along that great, you just kind of want to like be in pain for them, which like
You want to
can't
fix their
really
problems
do.
for them.
Yeah, you just want to like.
It's a very cathartic song that I still use for catharsis on many occasions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the first time I heard your sister's older, give her all the things that we can't shoulder.
Yeah.
I was like, that's what happened to me.
I feel that hits so hard.
We need therapy.
That's why we have a podcast.
This is our therapy.
A Podbean
trauma
subscription
dumping.
is a whole lot cheaper than a therapist.
But yeah, like, oh my gosh, I'm so watery-eyed right now just thinking of Louisa, because it's like, especially just because like we see, like Abuela's like, okay, we've got this to do, and it's not even so much like about being ungrateful. It's just like once someone gives as much as they can, you're just used to it, and you don't have like. I'm really like that's something too. Like I don't know if this is like. I really don't know how to be like the perfectly content at a job, just because like capitalism's bad. But like, I mean, on one hand, I don't think like if you're doing a good job, you need to be constantly thanked and like said, because like words can get hollow at a certain point. But once you feel like, once the novelty of whatever it is you can do has worn off, nobody cares, and it's like, okay, well, yeah, we know you can do that, so just keep doing it. And like, that's not even really like bad, but I don't think you, at least for me, I don't think I notice like how when that can kind of like wear on people who've been doing stuff for so long, because it's just like what you expect them to do.
And then when they stop doing that, because the expectations are so high, it's like, oh, somebody's slacking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess Luisa's just kind of a reminder to be kind to yourself and to just, I don't know, expect less from people. I don't know.
To just have
Reasonable
more empathy.
expectations.
Yeah, reasonable expectations and empathy for others.
Yeah, because like even if somebody's been doing something forever, once they say that they can't anymore, I think you should just be respectful for that. Okay, so now let's talk about the big tamale, Mirabel and Abuela. So like we mentioned this already. Mirabel is kind of a like, oh, the not magical one and the magical family. And they even make jokes about it. Like, the kids are like, are you sure your gift isn't being in denial?
And then let's also talk about how the entire town did her so dirty during the opening song. When the kids are like, what's
dirty.
your gift? And they just, like, keep playing, expecting her to, like, yeah, tell them your special gift, Mirabel. Why don't you share with these dumb little kids that you're useless and no one likes you?
That was one thing, too, that I didn't understand that the whole town knew until that guy really hammers it in, like,
You're useless
last
and no one
one.
likes you.
That guy, especially because he like, although like growing up, I did know people like that who would just say the most hurtful
Backhanded
things, but because they have like this big boisterous jolly laugh, it's just them ribbing you. But it's like, no, you're
That
my
hurted.
parents' friend, but I hate your guts.
I'm a literal child.
Yeah. I don't know why you said that to me. I'm a kid. I'm already fragile.
Oh my goodness. But so she's got that going on. Her whole family kind of just like ignores her. And
Unless they don't want her there, then they tell her
Yeah.
that.
they tell her they don't want. It's weird too because like I guess this is like the boiling point for Abuela, but it's weird because like it seems like she's been tired of Mirabelle for a while, but she's like, no, not anymore. When Antonio asked Mirabelle to walk him down, I really thought people were gonna like say
Boo.
something.
Boo.
Tomato, tomato.
And like, I know that her mother and father love her very much. They proved that over the course of the movie. They really didn't know she wasn't there for the picture being taken.
That is
Nobody, not
insane.
one person noticed.
That also kind of hit in an interesting way for me.
Yeah.
I was like,
It's like, oh, I will be excluded.
unlocked a traumatic memory there.
Yeah.
I, like, I mean, I haven't been excluded from family photos. Like, when, I guess maybe we just had a small enough family present that they were able to take roll or whatever. But I was just
See,
thinking,
and I
like,
come from a large Catholic family, so that part I could relate to, too.
yeah. I do think it's so funny. They live in this magical world in the middle of nowhere, but they still have a priest.
Of course. It's part of
Just
the
for fun.
But, like, Abuela's more your god. Anyway, whatever. They confess to him, and then he reports back to
It's
Abuela.
like, oh my god,
Oh, gee.
Abuela, did you hear?
Well, that's what Dolores is for. So we once again we don't need a priest. They're all constantly confessing because Dolores.
Just
knows
Dolores, like,
everything.
is being nosy and she can't help it.
That's so funny. One last thing about Dolores is that like when she every time she like dropped some gossip, that little ooh face.
I love it.
I was like, okay,
Little shoulder shrug.
You're my favorite
I've
character
been-
now.
I've literally been like, okay, I've been related to many of you, Dolores. Don't act cute. You know what you just
We know
did.
what you did. Also, okay, why did she have to spill the beans at dinner? Like, her gift is like,
Drama.
you hear what's going on. Your gift is that you have to hear and share everything.
Yeah, well, no, that's what I'm thinking. I feel like there's some textually. I feel like there's some animosity between Peppa and Julieta, and that has been imposed on Dolores from Peppa about how they're perfect, and La Abuela thinks that Julieta's daughters are the best, and that we're just like the second ones here. Even though Bruno literally lives in the walls, but like we're worse off. And then that means that when Dolores finds out that there's something that makes Mirabelle less perfect, she has
She's
to
like,
tell.
ooh, she should have just sat there and ate her avocados.
Which again, not to say that anybody is evil, because it's very clear that there is no bad guy in this movie.
Except for Abuela. I'm kidding.
Okay,
She
well,
has a
let's-
The
redemption.
bad guy is the toxic relationship of the family.
Yeah. Well, I guess so. There's, I guess, two things. So one with Abuela, like, one thing people talk about how it's like a hollow redemption arc, and I'm like, I don't think it's hollow because, like, you know, the movie ended.
Yeah.
They-
So, like,
it continues
yeah.
see them
on.
going. We
In
can't see them
theory.
going
Like-
to family therapy
Yeah.
because the movie
Like,
would never end.
Yeah. Because, yeah, quite frankly, I think it's more like it's as optimistic or as pessimistic as you, the viewer, want it to be.
Right.
Because Yeah, totally. I can definitely see 3 months from now the house is broken again.
They're like,
It's like the
"Umbrella,
end of
this is-"
Inception.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's up to the
But-
viewer.
Yeah, but at least, I mean, honestly,
She
I
said
would give them
sorry,
more than...
which is so much more than my grandmother ever said to me.
Yeah, honestly, like, getting an apology from...
Your immigrant
Matriarch.
grandparents or
Or
parents.
even, I mean, she, aside from just saying sorry, she exhibited her and, like, communicated her understanding of Mirabelle's
Yeah.
point of view instead of
Yeah.
just, like...
This is how I hurt you.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
what I did. I feel bad.
I
I'm
think
sorry.
it's also good that they did show, like, because, you know, a lot of times they use, like, the villain backstory in movies, and it's, like, sort of, like, forgives everything they do.
Right.
But, like, this one, it makes it clear, like, no, that's just an explanation for why she
Yeah, this is
held
context.
everybody so close, because she was just terrified of losing them. And, like, fear makes people do all sorts of crazy things. But now she's been confronted with the fact that, like, okay, look,
You're a
lady,
mean bully.
you tried this. Your method didn't work. We're all screwed up. Okay, yeah. No, I see that. It's time to, like,
Let me do better.
revisit some things. Yeah. Which I think is interesting, because I feel like the people who are most mad are the people who are, like, still dealing with, like, the abuelas of their
Yeah.
life. And, like, to that, like,
Very valid.
yeah. And I'm with you on that, you know. But at the same time, I think it, for me, didn't really make me more, like, forgiving of anything
Yeah.
that happened. And, like, it didn't really, it wasn't like Encanto gave me new understanding just because, like, I was aware of, like, the people in my lives, Dos Oruguitos story. So it wasn't like, oh yeah, I never thought about it like that. It was just more like a sad reminder
Yeah.
of, like,
Damn.
this is why we're where we are, but, like, we're still where we are because it doesn't really help that I know and you know what you know if you're not going to change anything. So there's that.
This might be a bit of a tangent, and I don't know how much of this is
Yeah.
going to be, like, tangible or how much of it's going to stay in the final cut.
I really don't know how much of any of this is gonna cut together. to
The
be
video
honest.
ends up being 5 minutes. But, like, I don't know if either of you know who Jeffrey Marsh is, but they're like kind of like an educator and speaker. And they were talking about how a lot of times, like, we hear this idea of hurt people as
Yeah.
a justification for, like, abusers, like, doing what they do. And they were saying, like, you know, that shouldn't be an excuse. Like, what happened to you was wrong, and you, like, have every right to be upset and to grieve and to feel everything that you're feeling. But that is never justification for taking out all of your nasty feelings on other people. And we need to move away from this idea that, like, oh, hurt people, and it needs to be more, let's hold abusers accountable and let's, like, work on moving forward from that than, like, making excuses.
That's really interesting because for me, always took that as, like, giving context and, like,
Yeah.
like, maybe even, like, not, like, so it excuses their actions.
But it
kind of thing.
contextualizes
It
and, like,
contextualizes
gives some
it.
history to it.
And, like, potentially even gives a way to give resources to stop it from happening in the future.
Yeah.
By, like, helping the hurt person. But interesting. I've never heard of it as, like, we need to get away from that because it's an excuse.
I'll see if I can, like, find the
think-
video and I can send it somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love Jeffrey Marsh.
think-
They're great.
I think it's so, like, with different things like that. I mean, I think it can be used. I think I've heard it more used as just, like, you know, like you said, contextualization. But I think bad people use it as an excuse
Yeah.
for themselves. Like,
Oh, absolutely. If you're saying that about yourself,
yeah.
you're in the wrong
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
You need to leave.
So
You
like
need to find
I
a
think that's
therapist.
Yes.
I think that's something too, like with well, like okay, so obviously like we're not all running a magic community, but um, just like I think the way to not modernize, but kind of realize real life. If it wasn't a magical world, I think well, it could be people would be like, "Oh, she's not that bad. She's just helping them to be the best." And I think that something that people don't really talk about, like, and just like, I don't know if it's all communities, but like, growing up, I was always like, my parents didn't really pressure me a lot because like they just weren't those kind of people. At the same time though, from a very young age, I was taught that like because I'm not white, I would have to work twice as hard to get half what white people get. And that was just like what I grew up with, and like hearing about stories about like what your parents went through to get to like where they are with you now. It's just this pressure to be the best that you can be, but it's also like but it's supposed to be that way because otherwise, you know, they not that they even did it for nothing, but it's just like they care about you in the same way that I think Abuela does care about her family. I think it's would be not rude, but like disingenuous to come away from the movie thinking she never loved her
Yeah,
family.
Right.
Um, but I think just, and also the thing is too, if like, earlier, like if we check back in on the family and people kind of just fell back where they are, I don't think that even really means that what happened in the movie was fake. It's just that like things are hard. And like we're all works in progress, and like I think at least things will be better, potentially, just because Abuela and Mirabelle now have that relationship where she can talk to her. I don't think anyone else really feels comfortable to talk to Abuela that way now. It's not like people are going to be like checking Abuela every 5 seconds to be better. But I do think, like, honestly, I think for the first time in a long time, Abuela finally has someone she can, like, actually rely on. Because, like, before...
It was just her.
It was just her alone, and when she pushed someone too far, they went to live in the walls. So, Mirabelle was pushed too far, and she just told Abuela a little bit about herself.
And then the house broke.
And then the house broke.
And they're fine now. To like end on like a happier note, we talked about a lot of serious things, but let's talk about probably the best character in the house, Casita.
The best character is the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys buy into the theory? Which, like, okay, this is weird. So technically, I guess this is a theory, but I thought it basically from the second watch, kind of from the first watch. But there was a theory that, like, once some random person on Twitter said this, everyone was like, oh my gosh, I never thought of it that way. Casito is Abuelo, right?
Yes.
Like, it is his soul, because he died, and then
The soul went into the candle, and the
Yeah.
candle is, like, what provides the magic for the house.
It's like the soul of the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is, okay, so he is there, and like, and I think that's interesting that he, like, the casita, I say he, like Abuelo, but like the house is the closest with Abuela and Mirabelle. And I think that's interesting because But at the same time, though, why did you do her so dirty? And not,
She's
like,
just having a moment.
but, like, if he wasn't gonna give Mirabelle a gift because he knew she didn't need one because blah, 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 blah.
Why'd you embarrass her in front of literally the entire town?
It started glowing to disappear. Also, even if she doesn't have a power,
You could still...
can she get her own room? She's still
know.
living in the
She's still living
nursery,
in the baby
Abuelo.
room.
That's the one, like, okay, I haven't actually, I don't think I've said one negative thing about this movie. I will say that's the one thing I wanted. I wanted Mirabelle to have her own room. She's, like, at least 15 years old.
Yeah, she's sharing
Time.
with Antonio, who's a little boy.
I mean, like, at this point, like, first of all,
Why can't
the
she
house
just
has
share a room with one of her siblings or one of her cousins? The rooms
You-
are clearly very big.
Okay, but come on, do we really think that Isabella was going to share with her at the beginning of the movie?
No.
I didn't say it had to be her.
Louisa might
Maybe.
might have, but I feel like at the same time though, like, these rooms are, like, we saw Bruno's room. Like, not all of these rooms are for just, like, anybody to come in. I just think, like, at this point, if she doesn't have a new room, she's potentially going to be shacking up with Dolores and Mariano's new baby.
I did see that somebody on, like, Instagram or like some social media platform where they, like, drew, like, an after credit scene where, like, Mirabelle gets her own room and, like, it's cute. And I'm like, that should have been in the movie. That would have been a cute after credit scene. Or, like, they at least, like,
I think,
redo
okay, so this is how
the
they
nursery
could have
so it's
done
her
it.
room.
Yeah, they could have redone the nursery, or she could have gotten her own room, but instead of the doorknob being made for her, they still could have given her the doorknob.
Yeah.
Well, like, the one thing is, like, okay, so she gets her own doorknob fine.
But it also stands for Madrigal, so...
Yeah. Also, they
The
kept
whole
that
house.
doorknob the whole time for, like, at least 10 years. And they're like,
Well,
we gotta hide
okay,
this.
that's
That's
the one-
embarrassing.
That's the one thing I didn't know, because he
He
said,
said we made it just for you.
So I think it was just a doorknob.
Oh, and they're like,
they
let's make it
found.
cute for her.
But also, it works because it's our last name.
Magic.
Our last initial.
Yeah.
But
They're like, we wouldn't have done this for you if your name began with any other letter.
Yeah. So, you know,
Why do you
we're just
have a
planning.
J on the front of your door?
The J is
It's
silent.
for our non-magical... for our non-magical relative.
Yeah. She's the favorite
we are
now.
The whole house. I think, yeah, I think I got most of my feels of Encanto out of here.
We love Encanto. It's a great movie.
Yes, go watch it right now, even if you've already seen it.
Maybe make your dysfunctional family watch it and then sit down and have a conversation. Maybe or don't. If you think that's going to cause more problems, then don't do that.
I love the idea of someone being like, okay, mother, father,
gonna watch a movie."
sit down. We're gonna watch Encanto,
Oh, someone-
and I want you to see who I think is just like you.
Someone did a TikTok of that, and I was like, oh, isn't that funny that Abuela's making everybody feel so uncomfortable? And then, like, after it's like, so, Mom, what was your favorite part of the movie? Oh, I like the music. It was so nice. Oh, is that all you got from the movie, Mom? Just the music was nice? Okay.
I was going to say, let's be real. If anybody was an abuela in real life, they're not going to get that message from the movie.
Yeah.
No.
Why did nobody
although,
like Abuela? She's doing her best.
She's trying her best.
She's trying. Everybody's ungrateful.
She does everything for her family.
Yeah.
To close out, I guess we don't have to answer this, but like, could Abuela be a Karen? That's for you guys to think about it.
Leave it
Let
in
us
the
know in the comments.
On
We love
that
engagement.
note- On that note, thank you guys for coming and dishing about Encanto with me. And thank you guys for listening. And remember to comment, like, and subscribe because we all need friends. Okay, bye.
Bye.